Hello, Coolman229 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week I'll be talking about Severus Snape again. I've done a previous video on him, but there's something more specific I want to delve into with this topic. This week's topic was submitted by Tumblr Anon, and their topic is why Snape isn't the hero his fan base make him out to be. I touched on this in my previous Severus Snape video, where that was the him being a hero was more of a side note that I mentioned near the end, but it's something I do want to talk about because there's a lot of stuff to this day. People are still defending him as a heroic character, and no, stop. Just stop. And there are a few things in my last video that I do want to talk about that I didn't mention. Another thing I do want to say is, it was brought to my attention that apparently the Snape cradles Lily in his arms scene is movie only. So I did want to say that if that actually is, I haven't gone back, and I didn't watch Deathly Hallows Part 2 because I wanted to boycott it Part 1, but I was dragged to that one, but I never saw Part 2, thank goodness. But if that's not in the books, then that's my bad for harping on it so much. But it was still brought up, and it's still shown a lot. Now, this also leads me to another point about the movies that I do want to talk about and get out of the way real quick. So the movies do go out of their way to take away some of the worst aspects of Snape. Sure, you get him being a former Death Eater and stuff, but some of the worst stuff he did, like all the horrible things he did to Lily and all the horrible things that Lily brings up with him, all of that axed from the movie. Oh, I guess it's not important enough, right? Because it makes Snape look horrible. Yeah, and that's it for talking about the movies specifically. Now, talk about why Snape is considered a hero. Why there are so many people in the fan base that think he's a hero. And it all has to stem from J.K. Rowling. Of course, the queen of bad writing herself. Rowling ultimately portrayed Snape as a hero. And ultimately showed this by having Harry name one of his kids after Snape. Which was stupid. Now, when an author does stuff like this, they want you to see things in a certain way. And every story does have their own biases from the author, and sometimes this doesn't really affect things so much, considering C.S. Lewis's Christian faith affecting the Chronicles of Narnia. There are a lot of Christian not just allegories, but very, very much infused with Christian beliefs in certain parts of the story, when it's not something he intended to. He didn't write out wanting to write a religious book, at least not with the Chronicles of Narnia. But it doesn't affect the quality of the books. Then you have someone like Hideo Kojima, whose liberal politics seeps into the games, where it starts beating you over the head with stuff. And it's even the most random of times, like in Metal Gear Solid, when Naomi, a character who has no stake in anything, will just start going over like, nuclear weapons are bad! And nuclear energy is awful too! Everything is evil. It's like, chill. Now, this can really negatively affect a story, and sometimes it can leave people being really baffled because what the author thinks is so incongruent with reality and common sense that you're sitting there going, huh? Like Kishimoto with the Naruto series, him agreeing with the nationalistic, borderline fascist elements of the ninja system, and how basically kids are turned into child soldiers and stuff like that is never. It's like you'd think this stuff would be brought up, and kids being murdered would kind of be a thing, and that all the horrible systems that are in place, especially with stuff like the Hyuga branch branch families being slaves to the main family. You think stuff like this would be brought up, but ultimately ends up being supported by the fact that this is never changed. So you start looking at the author and you're just like, what? And that's what Snape is like in Harry Potter. Rowling, for some reason, I was told that she based him off of a teacher she hated, but for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure why, near the end of the series, she wanted to turn him into a hero. And I don't know what it was, but there's something near the end of the series where J.K. Rowling totally lost her mind. Like, with Order of the Phoenix, when things started going really bad. But, with Half-Blood Prince is where things went off the rails, and for some reason, Snape in the very end was portrayed as a hero. And a lot of people, when they consume media, they don't think about it. They will parrot whatever is told at them. So, if you say, this character is heroic, they'll say, that character is heroic. Regardless of whether it's true or not. And this is the problem that happens with Snape. There are some people who might have been more apathetic to it, but since Snape was portrayed as a hero, and Snape was honored as a hero, and Snape was labeled as one of the 2 bravest men Harry knew, you have people taking this as gospel fact. So people will automatically run on this disturbing idea that this racist douchebag with a stalker crush on the main character's dead mom, is a true hero of the story. Overshadowing characters like Lupin, Tonks, Sirius, and it just makes you scratch your head like, what? And that's where a lot of people come. And then you have a lot of people who liked Snape, and some of them, it's okay. Here's the thing, I want to make something very clear here. Snape can be a terrible person, but can still be a good character. I said this in my Snape video. I was super interested in Snape's character. The is he evil or is he good? The weird, the balance shifting and like all the reveals in the books, as time went on over the years and over the 7 books, and you're going back and forth like, is he good? Is he evil? That stuff's interesting. And ultimately finding out his true allegiance was one of the big mysteries of the books. At least it was for me. So I was really interested in his character, and Snape is an interesting character. He's not a hero, but he can still be a good character. And I have to stress this, because too many people have this frankly messed up idea that in order to like a character, you need to support everything that they do and say and believe. And no. Even characters who are anti-heroes can do stuff that you personally don't agree with, but they can still be good characters. I could say I like BBC Sherlock. At least, for the first 3 series. And say, hey, he does some pretty screwed up stuff. I still like his character. I don't agree with everything he does or, the way he, treats people. I could say I like villains, like Albert Wesker in the Resident Evil series, who's the ultimate scumbag. But I like him because he makes for an interesting villain. Snape could have been an anti-villain, really. Anti-villain, anti-hero. He's not heroic. He's not evil. He skirts the line somewhere in the middle. And if he was better developed, he really could have been interesting along those lines. But he wasn't. He's supposed to be a hero. He's supposed to be very much on one side of this topic, when he's very much on the other side. One of the reasons why he's not a hero is the fact that he held some pretty disturbing beliefs. In school, it's shown that he was pretty prejudiced against the Muggleborns. Freely using the word mudbloods And once against Lily, his supposed love of his life and best friend, where she openly admitted that she'd been putting up with him for years, he calls her a mudblood. And it's established in the series, and this is something I don't quite understand why people don't get. It's established in the series that this word is pretty much the equivalent of a racial slur. So, calling a Muggleborn a mudblood is really awful. So when he does this to Lily, who we like, you do have to wonder why people think that this isn't a big deal. It's like it's made a big deal out of in the books. So why isn't when he does it? Well, that's because people come in with biases, and if they like a character, a lot of times they'll just ignore it when they do horrible things, which is so dumb. Now, he was totally fine with Muggleborns being tortured during school. Yep, he was totally fine with it. In fact, he just called it having a laugh. I believe that's the exact term. Or a good laugh, or something along those lines. When Lily points out that, his future Death Eater friends are, doing horrible things. When a 15-year-old is saying, yeah, torturing people is having some fun, you run. You run far away. And the fact that he invented spells like Sectum Sempra and Levicorpus, the one that James used on him and the one that a lot of people who bash James and defend Snape try to use against him, was also invented by Snape. And was very likely used on James himself. And was, I believe, Lupin established that it was also a very popular prank to do to other people. Also, we find out from Lily that Snape had been trying to out Lupin as a werewolf since they were teenagers. Lupin, I think we can establish, is the nicest of all of the Marauders. Sirius and James were, let's be honest, they were kind of douchey when they were kids. But, they grew up, and, James was still very kind to, and was still a good person. And he still helped Sirius out a lot when it came to the crap with his family. But Snape was the source of a lot of this. Snape was trying to out the nicest guy in that group who didn't go after him when he went after them. Because this is something a lot of people want to ignore. Snape went after them just as much as they went after him. It was a battle, and everyone was like, but there's an imbalance. Yeah, but he's got a ton of Death Eater friends, too. So, and it's funny, because if you really want to, you really want to come up with a metaphor for this, this is like if a neo-Nazi was beaten up by the school bully, and everyone's like, that school bully is so horrible, he's just a neo-Nazi. Or no, even better, an actual Nazi, straight up SS, soldier, beaten up by a school bully, and they're like, he just wants to genocide the Jews. Why are you being so mean to him? And this is what it feels like when people are defending Snape as this wonderful, amazing person. Like, no, he wasn't. You can like Snape as a character. No one's stopping you from liking Snape as a character. But they've invented this weird fanon version of Snape. Honestly, the trope of Draco in leather pants should be Snape in leather pants. Because, just, oh my gosh, that is just such a... People treat Snape as if he's this pure and wonderful person. And he's not. Honestly, I really wonder why Snape isn't the trope namer for Draco in leather pants. But anyway. So we can see that even when he was a kid, even when he was like a little kid, when he met Lily, he He hurt Petunia. Because he's a dick. This guy had problems long before he got into, dark magic. He had lots of problems. So, yeah, he was always a pretty terrible person. James being a dick to him doesn't negate that. Because, honestly, we only see a snippet, and I guarantee you he did much worse stuff to other people. I mean, what? He hung him upside down and made fun of him? Snape is okay with, torturing Muggleborn, so who's the worst person here? And as I mentioned before in my Snape video, who grew up? James did. Snape got worse. Snape literally joined the Death Eaters. And he very likely participated in the torture and murder of Muggleborns. But we can't confirm this because a lot of this time is, well, it's not explored very often, which you would think is something that would be developed, considering how important Snape is. But again, that would make Snape look as bad as he actually is, and would be very hard to push the hero narrative when you show him being a Death Eater. During his time as a Death Eater, he was also the person who supplied Voldemort with the prophecy. And this part is the real kicker. He was totally fine with this, with Voldemort having this prophecy and going and killing a little child. Oh wait, no, it's the Potters? Hey, can you kill James and the baby and leave Lily for me? Voldemort's just like, no, I won't murder them all. And then he's just like, well, fine, then I'll betray you now. And Snape's entire redemption arc is based on the fact that he had this obsessive love for Lily. That's not heroic. And, okay, and even working with that, you could have that be an interesting aspect to his character, that he was ultimately a pretty terrible person who did the right things for the wrong reasons. That's an interesting, aspect to have to a character. It's not what happened, unfortunately. But still, people will see this as heroic. And I've seen people say of Lily friend-zoned Snape when he didn't deserve... Okay, no. She didn't friend-zone him. She completely cut him out of her life for being a toxic nut job. He wanted to join the wizard Nazis. He wanted to kill Muggleborns. He thought that they were beneath him. Except for Lily, because he loved Lily. The one thing that seems a little weird, does no one see this? How do people see that as heroic? It's not. It's really not. And any time that Snape helped Harry, it's not because he legitimately cared. It's because Dumbledore told him to, and because I love Lily. I believe in the books, Dumbledore even basically mocks him for the fact that he's only, he was totally okay with James and Harry being brutally murdered by the Dark Lord, but Lily, no. I think you call him pathetic or something like that. And that's your answer right there of what this really is. It shows him as being a terrible person. But for some reason, J.K. Rowling decided to flip the script and have him be a hero. Him doing some stuff for good doesn't make him a hero. It makes him, at best, an anti-hero. And at worst, just a villain who decided to do a few good things. So, you really, no matter how you look at Snape's character, you can't see him as heroic. And his fans that defend him constantly, and I've actually been harassed by these people for just pointing out that he, was a terrible person. They try to whitewash all of his actions. They try to completely pull some revisionist history and act like his character, well, he was never really that bad. No, he was that bad. That's kind of the point. In fact, that's actually a big aspect of his character. The fact that he was a Death Eater. He was a Death Eater. And it's not like he was forced to either. Not like Malfoy, which Malfoy was infinitely more sympathetic than him. But no, Malfoy doesn't get this defense. This is why Draco in leather pants should have been Snape in leather pants. Draco, while a douchebag quite a bit, still was retained much more sympathy than Snape could ever achieve. Because Snape didn't have to. He was a brilliant potions master. I mean, hell, he could have straight up gotten the potion master's job at Hogwarts, easily. He could have made a buttload of money writing potions books for schools. He could have revolutionized potions. He could have become a potions, master who he could have, become a scholar, like a potion scholar. He could have studied potions. I don't know if there's any alchemy or I don't know if there's any specific word for that, but he could have become, famous in the world of wizardry for revolutionizing potions with the way he completely changes how people see potions and how people make potions. He could have made money on that. He could have revolutionized. He could have helped people. But what did he do? He joined the Death Eaters. And he was excited about doing that even as a kid. So you can see where his priorities were. And he's not a hero. A guy who was, let's get to something straight here. If the Longbottoms were the ones who ultimately, were chosen by Voldemort, Snape would have let them die. He wouldn't have batted an eye at it. Why do I say this? Because his only concern when the Potters were targeted was Lily. If he says, "Oh no, wait, don't kill them, that's bad," then I could say, yeah, he had a conscience then. Even if it grew a little too late. But no. He just wanted to save Lily. Because he wanted her. Hey, kill her wife and her son, her newborn son, so that I can have her. And that is not heroic. That's creepy as hell. Snape's fan base really needs to get a grip. And I'm saying this in the most earnest of ways, and I honestly want to tell people this. To all the people who think that Snape is perfect and wonderful, just look at Snape from an objective point of view. Just look at his character. Look at what he does. And anyone who thinks that what he did was heroic has some pretty messed up views that they really need to reevaluate. You can't take a character who did horrible things and only ever became a good guy because of a crush, not because of any sort of moral reasonings or because he wanted to do good or he hated being bad. No. It was because of a crush on a girl that he knew who broke off because she hated him and married someone else. No, he's not a hero at all. And that is the big thing, and that's why it's so baffling that J.K. Rowling chose him of all people to become a hero. If at the very the 11th hour of the Battle of Hogwarts, Malfoy jumped in and punched Voldemort in the face or something, and Snape named his kid after Draco, I would feel better about that. If that came out of the left field in the last minute, I would have felt better about that because that would have felt, because we've already have that sympathy for, Draco. So him standing up to Voldemort would have been more brave than, Snape. And what really, I'm not saying that what Snape did wasn't on some level brave. Lying to Voldemort to his face is, to a degree, brave. But the reasons he does it are what completely ruin it. And this is something that I've mentioned. And the whole, thing with Lily, with him, really ruined his character. And it's really sad because you could have had a lot of interesting elements to his character. And I said this before, his friendship with Lily could have worked. But it felt like this happened because Rowling wanted us to feel sympathy for him. But while he was doing horrible stuff, and this blows my mind. I'm trying to wrap my head around this because I can't fathom I can't fathom her writing Snape, doing the things he did, and thinking in her head at the same time, he's a hero. Because he's not. You don't write him calling Lily a mudblood, something that, is established as being horrible, and then say, yeah, he's a hero. He ends up, I almost forgot to mention this, he does eventually out Lupin as a werewolf, causing him to forcibly retire at the end of The Prisoner of Azkaban. Good job on you. Why does he do this? Well, 2 reasons, really. Because he's a vengeful douchebag who couldn't even think that Lupin might not have actually been the scum of the earth, and the fact that he wanted the job. A guy who does stuff like that, not a hero. And that really seals it on him. The stuff he does, it's like if you stack up the good stuff he does a few good things, and then he does a bunch of bad stuff. And I haven't even touched on the way he treats his students. And no, it's not part of the charade to trick Voldemort, because a lot of that time, Voldemort was dead. He didn't have to be He didn't have to be as abusive to his students as he was, and show such insane preferential treatment to Slytherin, letting them get away with horrible stuff just because they're Slytherin, while punishing Gryffindors for just being Gryffindors, and tormenting Neville to the point of him being Neville's Bogart, his greatest fear. A hero doesn't do that. And the way he treats Harry like scum. Because he looks like James. And if that doesn't show you the level of pettiness that Snape achieves, then I don't think anything will. Because I guarantee you, if Lily had a daughter that looked like her, Snape would be creeping on her. He wouldn't abuse her, because she looks like Lily. And that is such a creepy as hell thought. So, the point of all this is that Snape is not a hero. He could have been an anti-villain, he could have been an anti-hero, depending on how he was developed over the course of the series, but he was never developed to do that. And ultimately, this is why he ends up being such a terrible character. He had so much potential of being an interesting character, but it was all squandered because Rowling had some frankly disgusting ideas on what constitutes a hero. Yeah, I think that's about it for this topic. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. If you want to submit a topic, just make sure to, go onto my Tumblr and send me an ask and do topic : and then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Or if you're on YouTube, simply comment below. And I would definitely appreciate getting some more topics since I'm kind of running low on my supply. But also remember to follow the rules that I'll be posting down below on both Tumblr and YouTube. And thank you for watching.